years ago, it was not obvious that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu were going to work together to bomb the Iran nuclear sites out of existence. In December 2020, Donald Trump, who had just lost the U.S. presidential election, his re-election, and Benjamin Netanyahu had been quick, in Trump's view, to congratulate Joe Biden on his election, and Trump was furious. And Trump told a reporter, an Israeli reporter, on the record, on audio tape, for a book that reporter was writing, F Bibi. Now, I'm sorry to say that on a Christian television network, and I'm trying to be cautious in the way I say it, but that was how Trump felt about Benjamin Netanyahu in December 2020. 4.5 years later, these two have made history together, and it's not obvious. But where are we going now? Now that these two have pulled off the greatest attack on Iran and wiped out the Iran nuclear threat for a generation, if not forever, what next? Now, where do we go from here in Trump and Bibi's triumph over Tehran? Hi, this is Joel Rosenberg in Jerusalem with a YouTube exclusive for the Rosenberg Report. Look, they've had bad blood in the past, but Trump is a guy who he is looking for allies, and it doesn't matter to him if you've burned him in the past, if he's been upset with you in the past. If he sees you as useful now, if you position yourself as useful to him and to the cause, then Trump will adjust. I mean, think of the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance. Vance once called Trump Hitler, the American Hitler. So obviously, Trump has gotten over that. So, but what I'm saying is, it wasn't obvious a few years ago, even a few months ago, that Trump and Netanyahu would work so well together. But I don't want to look back. I want to look forward. Where are these two going? Because they've just changed the Middle East forever, in my view. What's going to happen now in the months ahead is that Israel's going to emerge completely victorious against every enemy. The Iranian regime, the Hezbollah, terrorist organization in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza. That's not over yet, but it's close. We're getting to the ending there. So Israel have conquered and destroyed all of its immediate threats. Okay, and as I've said on other programs on the Rosenberg Report and on YouTube exclusive, Israel is emerging as the dominant and sole superpower in the entire Middle East. That's pretty amazing for a little country of 10 million people, the capital of which is right over my shoulder, right here in Jerusalem. Trump is excited. He's excited about helping Netanyahu finish the job. Okay, Trump liked the fact that Netanyahu didn't beg him to fight the Iranian threat for Israel. No. Netanyahu took the initiative. He led Israel into battle against Iran, and he began attacking the Iranian nuclear program, the ballistic missile program, the top 40 or so military leaders in Iran, and the nuclear scientists, and Netanyahu was, and the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, were so successful. Trump saw an easy win and took it. Okay, that's these two working together. That's Netanyahu and his right-hand man, Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer, listening to Trump's concerns that he doesn't want to be involved in wars, he doesn't want to prolong a war, but he likes finishing things. And if he could finish a war and maybe open up a new era of peace and prosperity in the Middle East, that's what Trump wanted to do. And Netanyahu and Dermer were able to work together with Trump to convince him that is exactly what could happen, and that is what's happened. So now where do they go? And I think what's interesting to me is Trump now has an opportunity to change the whole region. Now, Israel has done it militarily, as I mentioned, knocking out the Iranian, Hezbollah, and Hamas threats. This is huge. It's huge. I can't even tell you how big of a deal this is. But Netanyahu on his own can't make peace with the Saudis. He needs Trump to broker that deal because the Saudis want some things that Netanyahu can't give them. Okay, Trump can give the Saudis the military armaments that the Saudis want. Trump can give a U.S.-Saudi defense agreement, maybe an alliance, maybe some sort of treaty, or at least an agreement that the Saudis will not feel alone in the region. But with the Iranian nuclear threat and missile threat knocked out, the Saudis are going to feel very comfortable to engage with an American president that took decisive action in the region and with an Israeli prime minister that took out the Saudis' worst fear. You know, you have to understand, when I met with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, the de facto king, Mohammed bin Salman, affectionately known in the region as MBS, MBS told me directly when we asked him about how he regarded the Iranian threat, he told me that he regards the supreme leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, as, quote, the new Hitler. So you think MBS is happy, ecstatic actually, that the new Hitler has been disarmed from these weapons of mass destruction? Of course he is. And he sees Netanyahu as the driver that neutralized this threat, taking huge risks, a little country taking on a big country, 80 times our size, 8 times our population. This is a big deal. MBS sees Netanyahu as a leader, and he sees Trump as a leader. And Trump can make this deal. He can broker this deal. Now, there is a question whether the Saudis are willing to normalize and make peace with Israel under Netanyahu. Okay, that's important to ask this question, because Netanyahu, in the Saudi people's view, the Arab people's view in the region, has killed 50,000 Palestinians in Gaza. Now, maybe the number's not that high, but that's the number that everybody's talking about in the region. So there is a question in my mind that is, I don't hear being raised by other analysts. There is a question whether the Saudis, while they are impressed with Netanyahu taking out the Iranian leadership, Iranian nuclear threat, rather, and ballistic missile threat, whether the Saudis feel politically comfortable, whether MBS feels politically safe to make a deal with Netanyahu. I'm not talking about making a deal with Israel. Like, for example, let's say Netanyahu it doesn't run again. And I'm going to get to that in just a moment. What if Netanyahu doesn't run again? What if somebody else emerges as prime minister? We'll take the leading contender right now, just for a thought exercise. What if Naftali Bennett, who's the most popular political leader in Israel right now, what if he becomes the next prime minister of Israel, puts together a coalition government in 2026? Is it more likely that MBS and the Saudis will make peace with Bennett because they want to make peace with Israel? Do they feel like it's too costly, however, to make peace with Netanyahu? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It's not an easy thing for MBS to go out front of the entire Muslim world, the Arab world, and say, I'm making peace not just with Israel, but with Prime Minister Netanyahu. Because in the Arab Muslim world, Bibi has a lot of blood on his hands. As a decisive leader, MBS respects him, I believe. And other Saudi leaders do, and other leaders in the region do. But does Bibi have too much blood on his hands? I'm not saying it was avoidable. We've been in a bitter, brutal war in Gaza. And it's not clear to me how Israel would have saved more lives, civilian lives. And I think a lot of those 50,000 or more are actually Hamas fighters that are being counted as civilians. I don't think they were. I think half that number or more are Hamas fighters. But whatever, that's not relevant in terms of the people on the ground in Saudi Arabia and throughout the rest of the region. So that's a question. But if a deal is going to get made with Netanyahu or with Naftali Bennett or some other Israeli leader, it's Donald Trump that's going to make that deal. So Bibi certainly wants a Saudi-Israeli-American agreement, because that will be historic. That will be another game changer, and it'll be one of the major fruits of this military success. So Bibi wants it. Trump wants it. The question is whether the Saudis are ready yet, or they need some space to let the dust clear and maybe another leader to emerge. I don't know that. I'm not telling you that Bibi can't do it or the Saudis won't do it. I'm just raising that as an important question on this Trump-Netanyahu relationship. It's a powerful alliance. But what's the next step? Like the same thing with the Lebanese. Now that the Iranian threat is neutralized and the Hezbollah threat is mostly neutralized, the Lebanese really have an opportunity to rise up and cast off Hezbollah, to be assertive, assert their own independence again. They should. We should be praying for that. And the Lebanese might say, and as part of this new independence away from Iran, away from Hezbollah, we want peace with Israel. We want in on the Abraham Accords. Now, will the Lebanese leadership be willing to make that deal with Netanyahu? Or will they wait and say, we want to warm up relations with Israel, we want to move in that direction, but let's just wait to see who emerges in the next elections. Now, elections here in Israel are scheduled for October of 26. Could they happen sooner? Yes, they could. But the point is, sometime in 26 is the most likely time. I guess it could happen at the end of this year if Bibi called for early elections. But that raises another question. So the first question is, what are Trump and Bibi going to do to expand peace and prosperity in the region after this war is over? Okay. Now, we still need to get all the hostages out, so we need a resolution. We need to destroy and crush Hamas completely, and we need all those hostages to come back. That's critical to whatever Netanyahu's political future is, but it's just we need it anyway, regardless of Bibi. So then the question is how to rebuild Gaza. Trump said, I'm going to own it, I'm going to rebuild it, it's going to be beautiful. That is something that Trump and Bibi Netanyahu could do together. Who would govern Gaza? I don't know yet. How exactly would it run? Would the Saudis and the Emiratis and the Bahrainis and the others invest heavily in rebuilding Gaza? It would depend on a lot of factors. But that's something they could do together. But beyond that, I think that it's a big question. And that is, does Netanyahu want to stay in politics? Okay? Almost everybody that I talk to here in Israel believes that Netanyahu has been either extending this war so that he can stay in power, or that as soon as he defeats Israel's enemies, that he's going to call a snap election, and 90 days later he's going to try to be the prime minister again. Why would Netanyahu do that? Well, his critics would say because he just wants to be in power forever. His friends would say because there's so much more he can get done, having defeated Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, and having Trump as a partner. There's so much more they can do together. But I want to raise another question. Is it possible that Benjamin Netanyahu is done with politics? Is it possible that he doesn't want to run again? That he wants to sail off into the sunset, having defeated the Iranian threat, having defeated Hezbollah, having defeated Hamas? Yeah, October 7th is a terrible stain on his record as Mr. Security. But having won this war, or being close to it at this point, but as he thinks about it over the next few months, when he wins this decisively and Israel emerges as the dominant sole superpower in the region, is that the time that Netanyahu will be like, my work is done here? Because that's quite a legacy. To go back into the swamp, as it were, to go back into politics and run again is very risky. Is his decisions to attack Iran and destroy the Iranian nuclear facilities and destroy the ballistic missile stockpiles and launchers and take out all those top Iranian military leaders, are those decisions popular here? Absolutely. About 83% of Israelis say, absolutely, this is exactly what we want. 83% of Israelis don't agree on anything. They don't agree that the sky is blue right now, okay? This is a big deal. Netanyahu has unified the country with major decisions that he's been talking about his entire political career about doing, and now he's done it, and he is successful. But being popular doesn't mean you're going to win the next election. Right now, Netanyahu is underwater in the polls. Remember George H.W. Bush. Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture. Not gonna do it. Remember that George H.W. Bush in 1991 decisively defeated Saddam Hussein, liberated Kuwait, and was a hero, and I think his approval ratings were at like 92%. That was 1991. In 1992, George H.W. Bush, not gonna do it. Probably should have said, not gonna do it, not gonna run again. Wouldn't be prudent, not at this juncture. Why? Because he was crushed at the polls by Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton came in and he wiped the floor with George Bush. That's how it worked. So somebody at 92%, a war hero, doesn't necessarily win the next election. I would predict on this YouTube exclusive that Netanyahu doesn't run. Now, he's a political animal. He loves politics. He wants to get a lot more done. So he could, but I don't think he will. I think this success is decisive for him and is exactly the type of thing to walk off the stage. If he could get the deal, the peace and normalization deal with the Saudis, he would do it. If he can get the deal with the Lebanese, he will do it. If there's any other Arab or Muslim country that wants to make peace in the next year and a half, Bibi will take it. That will just be what we'd say douve devant. These are just cherries on the top of the sundae. But mark my words, as much as Bibi loves this partnership with Trump, I think Bibi's done politically. We'll see. In Jerusalem, this is Joel Rosenberg with a YouTube exclusive for the Rosenberg Report. Please hit like, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and please share this with others.